All right, good morning, everybody. Appreciate you guys being here. I know we took some time off. Hopefully you guys enjoyed your weekend. It doesn't look like I missed too much while I was gone. Looks like we had like one sell-off day, and then the rest we just kind of sat sideways there, so didn't miss too much. All right, taking a look at our trade plan, we are looking for a lot of overlap here. So as long as we stay inside that overlap, we are looking for those rotations. So between 537 and 493, we are just rotating. If it holds above 37, look for a strong node above that, and then possibly pushing back into Thursday's value. If we hold below 493, same thing. Look for a strong node below that, and then pushing those low of days, and then possibly lower value as well. But for now, the P shape doesn't really matter. You're just kind of stuck in an overlap, so it's still pretty neutral. You're just looking for those rotations. Pretty much the same story on NASDAQ. I would say the P shape matters a little bit more. On NASDAQ, you are pushing those kind of range highs and value highs already. So it's a bit more bullish on NQ. If it stays above that like 60 to like 170 area, then once again, I can't believe we're still talking about this dumb level. But that stupid rollover level that we've been glued to for over a month, we might be getting pulled back into that if it does stay above this overlapping value. If it stays below, then we're just rotating right back down to the value lows of the overlap, so around 837, 663, and possibly those lower tails and kind of lower value as well. So I'd say you're slightly more bullish on NASDAQ, but not much. All right, a little bit of buy pressure out of the open here. See if it can actually stay with this buy pressure, because we have been seeing a lot recently that like initial move out of the open, this doesn't really maintain through the next like 2 hours, right? And we're already seeing that right as I'm saying it. The buy pressure is already failing. Keep an eye on those EMAs. A lot of these like traps in the first couple of minutes. Looks like nothing has changed while I was gone. Still the same pattern we were watching last week. Keep an eye on VWAP if it does continue. Here is that 24 EMA. We are very far from VWAP on NQ. That'd be a pretty nasty failure. Yeah, I appreciate you guys all being back on the first day. Sometimes it takes people a few days to realize that I'm back to streaming, so I appreciate you guys being here. Good morning, Future. Good morning, Ward. Good morning, Banana. MU, Scott, ATF, OC, Luis. Good morning, Scott. Good morning, Larry. Good morning, Music, Roman, Flory, Morris. Good Morning, Mark, Sire, Lumir. Morning, eBay. Be Your Game, Greg, Lulu, Ray, Scott, Riso. Morning, Julio. Morning, Steven. Morning, Joseph, Orion, Tom. Good morning, Jay, Peter. Good morning, Faraj. Good morning, Leslie. Typhoon, Hugo. Good morning, Fernando. Good morning, Anthony. Appreciate you guys being here. I was going to say happy Monday, but it's not Monday. It's Tuesday. Monday for me, I guess. Okay, here's that VWAP at 512. Like I said, very far from VWAP on NASDAQ, so we're not getting there just yet. This is exactly what we just talked about, where that initial pressure going into the open is usually a trap. And that's exactly what it did. Nice little sweep there. And we are trapping that break and that test of the overnight high. So almost immediately trapping the overnight high. Asparagus, Brent, good morning, guys. Yeah, no worries, Joseph. I appreciate being here whenever you can. You can always find all the live streams on YouTube. I do unlist them after about a week or so. But you can always find them on my Twitter or on my, if you're in Discord. Those stream alerts that I post, they're obviously to alert people that I'm streaming, but they're also there to backlog all of my streams. So you can always find any streams that you miss on that X feed or the on the Discord channel. It's really just personal preference with scaling. On NASDAQ, I think I scale by like 10 points or 5 points, I believe. It's actually 2 points, yeah. So like anywhere from 2 to 5, I think is okay. If you scale by 2 to 5 points, it looks very similar to scaling by like 2 ticks to 1 point on ES. It's just really how much do you want them to be consolidated. It's just kind of personal preference. There's no like right or wrong way to do it. Little preemptive bounce off VWAP here. You're not quite hitting VWAP. It's bouncing a little bit early. Let's take a look at a few things. What's going on around the world while I was gone? Looks like oil is still continuing up. This is the major level for oil. We do not want to see oil staying above 85. If oil stays above 85, it is getting back into that really nasty range that we were trading in. But as of right now, this could be seen as a retest. It could be a bearish retest. But if it stays above 85, then you can't really say that anymore. NASDAQ hitting that VWAP from the April low, so very important macro level there. That was the bottom of, what day was that? Friday? And then it looks like the dollar has been pretty flat. So looks like I picked a pretty decent time to take some vacation. Really not a whole lot happened while I was gone. You had like one sell-off and then everything else just kind of consolidated. How are all the bubble companies doing? Are they all still just doing the same thing? Little bounce off VWAP on this sector as a whole. Probably a lot of these getting close to their VWAPs. Yeah, right there on that VWAP as well. If we take VWAPs from this entire impulse here, that's pretty much exactly where they are bottoming. Yeah, pretty much all of them are bottoming on their most impulsive VWAP here. This one's a little bit harder to grab because it has like multiple impulses. You can grab like the close one kind of like down here. Or you could grab like this one way down here. Looks like that one's more accurate. QCOM losing VWAP. And this one's losing VWAP as well, yep. So a couple of the big names losing their VWAPs, but most of them are kind of sticking around that same area. That bubble has not popped so far. You want a Mauser? You want a Panama? Want a Dez? Yeah, vacation was nice. The only downside was, unfortunately, it was really bad timing with the Canada wildfires. So we were on the, basically, pretty much exactly where the wildfires were, the smoke was going. So it was a little bit smoky. But other than that, it wasn't bad. I think they got most of those fires under control now. Oh no, it's all good. We still had fun. I'm not going to complain. Obviously, wildfires are a lot worse for the place that it's burning, so not going to complain being on vacation when that's going on. But yeah, a couple days were a little smoky. And then, of course, like our last day when we were leaving, it cleared up and it was like beautiful. We always have a little bit of bad luck on our vacation time. There's always a little bit of bad weather. But most of the stuff we were doing was inside anyway. It was just like the beach time. Keep an eye on that pivot at 507. Looks like that break of this range is failing. At least on NASDAQ. You have not broke that range on ES. You're still just ranging inside that overlap. But that break of the range is looking pretty weak on NASDAQ. Possibly pulling back pretty deep. Back down to like the 830s, the 700s. Yeah, I saw the World Cup is over now, and then I think people had Spain as like one of the top teams, but I don't think a lot of people thought they were going to win the whole thing in the beginning. Obviously, it became a lot clearer towards the end. But I know a lot of you guys, when I asked you, a lot of you guys were saying France, so that was a pretty big upset for France to lose. And then you had France, I think they lost again for the third place spot as well, so that was probably unexpected. Is it possible to make consistent money in the Asian time? Yeah, I think the after hours recently, after hours, pre-market, they've been pretty active. They've had a lot of clean patterns. You just have to be very patient. It's not going to be as fast and active as like the morning hours. But if you're patient and you're like waiting for proper setups, I think the after hours are definitely giving you good setups. We've been seeing a lot of movement outside of the New York time. Yeah, that's crazy. 6-4 is insane in a match like that. 10 goals. Is that like the highest World Cup game of all time, like scoring? That's pretty nuts. What is Aimer? Good morning, Olive. Keep it on the back test of VWAP here. We'll see if they want to start trending downward if they sell this kind of EMA and VWAP area. This looks like you tried to break out a value on NASDAQ, and pretty much immediately they did not like that. What's on the calendar for this week? Let's take a look. I'm pretty sure it's one of those really quiet weeks. Yeah, it's like nothing happening this week. Like literally nothing. We got a little bit of data on Friday, and that's like it. We have PMI and new home sales on Friday, and that is pretty much it. Yeah, earnings. Yeah, there are a few earnings this week, I believe. That is right. It's more of an earnings week than like a news week or a data week, I guess you would say. I believe Tesla and Google are this week, but then a lot of the big ones are next week. Facebook, Apple, Microsoft, those are all next week. I believe Amazon is next week or the week after, I believe. I think it's the next week. So a little bit this week and then a little bit next week as well. Yeah, it really looks like not a whole lot happened while I was gone. Just a whole lot of overlap. Pretty much everything I'm looking at just kind of doing exactly what it was doing last like Wednesday, Thursday. Good morning, Bella. Good morning, Leo. Appreciate you guys being here. IBM and Intel this week. Oh yeah, some of the bubble companies, yeah. Yeah, we'll take a look at those. AMD is in a couple of weeks. Intel next week. Micron already had earnings. SanDisk in a couple of weeks. WDC in a couple of weeks. So that first week of August, a really big earnings week. QCOM is next week. And Broadcom already had earnings. So yeah, next week is massive. And then the week after that, the first week of August is really big. How's crypto been doing? It's a little bit of a bottom on crypto recently. Not looking too good. If it doesn't stay back above like 70K pretty soon, you're still pretty bearish on that. It's kind of a really big bear flag. Okay, here's the backtest I was talking about. So you backtested VWAP and the EMAs, immediately selling it. So this is showing that we want to trend. We're not rotating. If it was rotating, it would have pushed through that pretty easily. So they are trying to trend this downward. Just keep an eye on that node. If they lose that 7 node, it is pretty weak. Looks like we still have liquidity problems. Not the best liquidity right now. A lot of level 2 orders, a lot of blue showing on the tape. Liquidity is probably around 20 contracts to 10 contracts per tick on ES. Want it stronger? By the way, guys, while I was gone, it was actually funny. Is like right when I left, Apex announced like a flash sale. Today is the last day for that. So that is, let me see, I posted it somewhere. It's the 50K intraday drawdown with no activation fee. So it's like the one that includes the activation fee, I believe. Double check that on the site. I don't mean it. I don't know if they mean no activation fee as this account doesn't have an activation fee, or it's not including that. Just double check on the site. But it's $49 for those 50K intraday no activation fees. That ends today. We are coming up on the end of the month. When should I get those from you guys? Let me see here. I'm going to get those next week, actually. So hold on to any of those receipts if you guys bought any accounts from now, or obviously at the start of July to the end of July. Just keep a hold of those for now. I will start getting those from you guys on Monday for our monthly raffle. So any accounts in July you guys use the code for, just put them in a folder or something. I'll start grabbing those on Monday. Okay, first reaction to that the pullback on VWAP was very bearish, and they bounced immediately. Let's keep an eye on the second reaction here. So far, it's pretty bearish as well. If they can't stay above 515. Also where that 1 minute trail is. Also where the 5 minute trail is. A lot of overlapping resistance here. Okay, second attempt is obviously breaking through VWAP here. Let's see if they can actually stay above it, going back into rotation. We've had 2 attempts to break out of balance so far, and they've both failed. You had an attempt right here. It's easier to draw on this one, actually. You had an attempt up here. This was mostly a NASDAQ attempt because the push on the open was NASDAQ trying to break. That failed immediately. And then this one, double failing VWAP, failing to find lower value. So they do not like these one-directional kind of breakout attempts. So be very careful being one-directional right now. Which we've kind of already talked about in our trade plan. It is D-shaped. Well, it is P-shaped, but it's still neutral because you're overlapping. So be very careful being one-directional. They've tried it twice. It has failed both times. You're also in a very tight balance here because you are not respecting the rotation of Monday. You're only respecting the rotation of today right now. That would be around 25 to 09, so about 15 points. If it starts holding above 25 or below 09, then we might be respecting the bigger rotation there. And that is much larger. That is about 40 points. Close to 50 points, actually. Same thing on NASDAQ. Just keep an eye on the value low there. If you lose that 65, you could be respecting the larger rotation, more of a retrace of Monday. Try to break the value of Monday, did not like it, possibly retracing. So you have a bit more, I guess you would say, opportunity for a one-directional move on NASDAQ to the downside, but everything else, it does not like that one-directional action. Good morning, Ringo. Let me see what you said here, Flory. Looking for overlapping wicks. Let me see. If you mean on the 30-minute, then yes, you could talk about like all these wicks right here. You just have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 wicks, and then including our open, you have 8 wicks trying to break above that value, which pretty much all failed. So if you want to talk about like supply and demand, that type of like strategy, right? There's clearly bearish demand here, right? The bears are very happy to sell that 25 to 30 area. Are we in a no trade zone? If you're not in a trade already, it's kind of a no trade zone because you have overlapping POCs. But what's happening right now that is a trade is that rotation we talked about. You're just rotating back and forth. So you're rotating from the value high to the value low. If you're in that trade, it's okay. But if you're not in that trade, then taking a new trade around double POCs is probably not the best idea. you can see that bearish bias on NASDAQ here because look at the lower highs and lower lows and look at how it's reacting to VWAP. You hit VWAP, sold, VWAP, sold, and you have that kind of danger zone between the VWAPs here, so you're kind of chopping between them. If it stays below that session VWAP, that's where it gets a lot more bearish. You're still glued to these VWAPs here. You are bouncing off that session VWAP on NASDAQ. It's trying to get above this daily, which it has failed pretty much the entire day. Because at the start of the day, you're building that daily, so it doesn't really exist. And then once it got a little bit of value, you've been below it pretty much the entire time. So if they can stay above like 150, 170, that'll be the first like real break of that daily VWAP, kind of back into that P-shape profile. Oh, no, you're good, Suzanne. I'm just not talking. There's just not a whole lot to talk about right now. We're just stuck in rotations. Just not a whole lot to talk about. If it does stay above this value high here, look for that value high of Monday. We'll see if it wants to respect the bigger profile here, or are we just still stuck in the same profile? It has failed plenty of times here to hold above that value high. So I wouldn't expect it unless there's a very strong amount of value coming in. Need to hold above 25 here. Okay, pay attention here. We'll see if they can actually stay above this level, because this is the first like break of the overnight high after the open, but it has failed this level pretty much every single time it has tried to stay up here, including yesterday, actually. So yesterday you had a couple of attempts to stay above this level as well, and they failed pretty aggressively. So the sellers really like selling above like 25 to 30, including Friday, actually. Look at Friday. They are heavily defending above 30. So very hard to be a buyer up here unless it's very obvious. Like the buy pressure is immense. Very, very strong. The sellers absolutely love this level. There's a 30-minute pivot up here as well. Looks like those sellers are coming in yet again for like the 20th time. They really do not like, the buyers don't like, I should say, buying above 30, and the sellers really like to sell above 30. So very hard to be a buyer up here. As you can see, those buyers are coming in and they get exhausted pretty much immediately. It's one of those levels where I think if the buyers finally win, it should be quite obvious because they have failed every single time. So it should be pretty violent. There should be a lot of value, a lot of volume, that sort of thing. Yeah, oil is at a turning point where it is, it needs to make a decision for the next, like, macro move. It's at a very, very key level. It's kind of like the low of this, like, value range here. So if it stays above this, we could be rotating again. But if it rejects it in the next couple of days, then it's still a bear flag. We don't know just yet. We'll have to keep an eye on that. Okay, rotating back down, as we said earlier, very, very hard to be a buyer above 30. The sellers absolutely love that level. We are rotating back down to 10, and then if it wants to rotate Monday because we kind of did hit the value high here, just barely missed it. If it wants to rotate Monday, that's 94. So 5, 10, and 94 are very key levels here. How to find chop? I guess you mean like how to know when it's shopping. That would go hand in hand with like D-shaped volume profiles. So like just knowing when the volume profile is more of a balance, more of D shape, or just using like standard pricing patterns like ranges, obviously. If you're constantly failing the same level on the high, constantly buying the same level on the bottom, then you're probably in a range. So those two things kind of go hand in hand. Look for a balanced profile and look for just a general range in price. Good morning, Ryder. Not sure if I saw you earlier. Price is trying to come up here, but you don't have a lot of buyer delta, so you do have a bit of a bear div showing. You can see on the widget here, price going up, but delta still fairly weak. You are trying to fail to rotate here. This could be a failure to rotate. But yet again, we'll see how they do above 30. They really don't like that level. Can they stay above 30 here? A very nice like micro pullback doji up here. Buyers on the top, sellers on the bottom, kind of exhausted on both. I put out a short this weekend talking about candles like this. Hopefully you guys enjoyed those shorts while we were gone. Give you guys some content over the weekend. We're going to stick to that schedule for this week, so no shorts during the week, but we will have 4 shorts on the weekend. I think that's a decent schedule for now. Yeah, no problem, V. Hey, John, what's going on? John, so the Momo is the only indicator of mine that is using another coder. It was my buddy that at the time that was actually a coder for a few years. But after that, I learned how to code and coded everything else myself. So it's really just about reading the Pine script, um, like it's like a database, like a manual, whatever you want to call it. There's a ton of like open source stuff. There's a ton of documentation on like how the Pine script coding works. And to be honest, nowadays, Claude is very, very good at coding. So if you need help building something simple for yourself, if it's truly simple, Claude can probably just do it for you. So I would just use Claude either to just do it for you or to teach you how to do it yourself. That's the thing about AI like Claude and any of the other AIs. Even if you don't want them to fully do it for you, the way that I like to use them is it's just your mentor. It's just like your teacher, right? If you have a question about how do I make this in coding, like how do I don't know, draw a line on high of day or whatever, it will teach you how to do it, right? So I'd highly recommend just reading through the documentation, looking at some open source examples of things that do similar things to what you're trying to do. That's why they're open source, right? To help people out. And then just use Claude. Just have Claude walk you through it. Have Claude help you out. It is very, very good. A year or two ago, not that good at coding like trading indicators. It's still not very good at coding complicated stuff. But if it's like a basic thing, or if you can like show it some open source examples, it can figure it out. Yeah, John, it's super easy nowadays, compared to like what it was years ago. There's a whole massive database of just thousands of open source indicators that you can look through and kind of get the general idea of how they do things. And it's not like plagiarism, like they are literally there to help you. Obviously, if you're just like stealing it and saying you made it, that's plagiarism. But if you're just looking through open source indicators like, oh, how do they put a line there? Or how do they label that? Or whatever. That's quite literally what it's there for. So definitely take a look at the open source database. There is some crazy stuff on TradingView. Like my indicators are super simple compared to what people can do on TradingView. What makes my indicators special is I created the logic for how these indicators calculate things. Like the logic of the Momo is completely built from scratch. The logic of the OTS is mostly from scratch. We're using a couple of like formulas that are obviously well known, that have been used in trading for a long time, but mostly from scratch. That's what makes my indicator special is its proprietary formulas, logic, whatever you want to call it. But how you code them, like the actual like mechanics behind it, are pretty simple compared to what people are doing on TradingView. There's some crazy shit on there. And my indicators are even like the older versions. Like my Momo and OTS, I think are like version 3 or like version 4. And then my bots, I think I upgraded those to like version 6 or whatever because I needed to use a better version for something I was trying to do. I think they're on like version 6 or 7 now. Very high. Yeah, I haven't tried Grok for coding stuff. Grok is more of my news feed. Grok is really good at like up-to-date news and information because it ties directly to Twitter, or X, whatever. It ties directly into it, so it gets a lot of like up-to-date information. So I found Grok is best for my news feed, kind of like my Athena bot, my news one. But for coding, I haven't tried it, so I can't really compare. But Claude is insane at coding. I've been building some stuff just outside of trading, just little things on the side, and it's really good. Keep it on VWAP here if you do continue to lose these EMAs. Yeah, John, the first one, the Momo, it's all my logic, pretty much everything is mine. I just literally didn't know how to code. I just didn't know how to put it into actual code. So he just coded like word for word what I had built. And then after that, I was like, oh wow, this is really cool. Like being able to turn an idea, turn a logic or a formula into an actual indicator. So after that, I just learned how to do it, and then literally everything else is my code. The only other indicator on my list that is his is the auto SR. That is actually his code. But yeah, bots, OTS, all the side indicators, all the extra stuff. That's all mine. There's a couple of dotted lines. This one is VWAP. That's the session VWAP. This is the trail on the Oasis Trading Suite indicator. It's kind of like an EMA. You treat it the same way you treat an EMA. Just finds like pullbacks, it finds traps, that sort of thing. Kind of like how all the sellers are being trapped today. The sellers are being trapped today below like 10, which is the value low, obviously. And the buyers are being trapped above like 30, which is the value high. So, beautiful example of those value levels kind of being respected today. These indicators, you get them from being a Discord member or using the code on Apex, or you can just find them separately on the website. If you use the code on Apex, code Baru, just send me your most recent receipt that you use the code for, and I give you guys 60 days access to try them out. If you need my email, here it is. TV, you can take a look at my playbook series. Goes over all the setups that we use pretty much on a daily basis. Explain a little bit about Apex. Yeah, the prop firms for futures, they're really there to help people kind of trade in like a simulated environment. So it's like paper trading almost, but it's closer to real money trading than just literally paper trading on like a fake simulator account. So it's kind of the bridge between using a paper account and using your own account. It's a little bit of a mix. So you can get the vibe of kind of using real money, even though you're trading in a simulated environment. So when you trade on prop firm accounts, pretty much all prop firms have the same business model where you have to start in an evaluation phase where you have to trade for a profit goal without hitting your negative goal, like your negative drawdown. If you hit the negative first, obviously you lose the account. If you hit the profit first before hitting your negative, obviously, you then can get a what's called a paid account. So then you typically have to pay an activation fee to turn into a paid account. And then from there, all of your trading is kind of like real money. It's still in a simulated environment. But if you make a certain amount of money, you can actually withdraw that as real money. So you're still in a simulated environment, but to you, it's kind of as if it's real money because you can withdraw it if you make a certain amount. Now, you still have to follow their rules and not hit their negatives. So if you lose too much money, then you lose the account. But the big benefit of like that in a paid account is if you imagine trading your own money, if you hit their negative, like their hard line, let's say you lose $2,000, you don't actually lose $2,000. You're just losing simulated money, and then you lose the account. Now, let's say you were positive $2,000, and that's real money you could withdraw. Then if you lose $2,000, you kind of are losing $2,000, but it's only profits. You're losing the profit money. They're not actually taking $2,000 like out of your bank account, right? So the money you earn is real money, but the money you lose, it's only kind of real money if it was profits that you lost. So there's very limited downside risk compared to trading your own money. The only downside risk is the amount of money you pay for the account. So whatever money you're buying the account for, or whatever money you're buying the activation fee, that is your risk. There is no other risk outside of profit money. So very, very limited downside risk compared to trading your own account, which pretty much every single person who's trading futures, you're going to lose money in the beginning. So nowadays, you very much so want to be trading in prop firms instead of your own account. And then down the road, like if you've really figured out the trading game, the futures game, you can use the profits from your prop account to fund your own account, or you could fund like a stock trading account or a long-term account, whatever it is. But very few people should be just starting their own account right away. Keep an eye on VWAP here. You have a good day, Mark. But yeah, that's the spiel. That's the business plan, the business idea of prop firms. When they first started it out, like way back in the day, they were kind of scammy. You couldn't really trust them that much. Nowadays, I'd say vast majority of people trading futures as a retail trader are doing it on a prop instead of doing it on their own account. I think we've hit that level of like, if I had to guess, it's probably like 80-20 or 70-30 or maybe even more than that are mostly prop trading, because the prop companies have just gotten very, very good. As long as you're using like one of the big dogs and not one of the brand new kind of scammy ones, they're very, very trustworthy. Their rules are good. They're doing massive payouts, right? You just got to do a little bit of research of who you're buying from. As long as they've been around for a few years and they have a lot of payouts, you can usually trust them. Especially if they're regulated in the US, they have to follow very certain rules. I've been working with Apex pretty much exclusively. I don't have an exclusive contract with Apex. I can work with whoever I want. But I've been working with them exclusively for, I don't know, 5 or 6 years now. And it's mostly just because they are the ones that I use. And I like to promote things and talk about things on stream that I actively use. So like the only things that I promote on stream are like Addis and Apex, because I use Addis and Apex pretty much every day. Yeah, speaking of Apex, they have that flash sale going on. It's like the cheapest their 50k no activation accounts have been ever. So if you guys want to use code BREW on there, you can. Just hold on to those receipts. I will grab those from you guys starting next week for our monthly raffle. If you guys are new here, we do a raffle every single month at the end of the month. If you use my code for Apex, you get a raffle ticket per 50k. So it's a 50k account, it's 1 ticket, 100k, it's 2 tickets, so on and so forth. And then I pull random winners for Discord access and tutoring sessions as well. Yeah, we'll talk about that a lot more next week. Am I live? Yeah, I'm live. There's only like a 5 to 10 second delay, just a standard YouTube delay. That's about as fast as I can make it on YouTube, unfortunately. Yeah, this is quite literally an Apex account you guys are watching. This is a paid Apex account on Addis. I am using a Rhythmic account on Addis. Any thoughts on heat map? I think it's good. It's just personal preference. I think some people like using it, some people don't. I think for like newer traders and people kind of getting into the futures game, it's a bit overwhelming. It's kind of like information overload, analysis paralysis, that sort of thing. But I think if you're doing that style of trading, like the very quick scalping and keeping an eye on liquidity and all that stuff, I think it's okay. I don't personally use it on a daily basis, as you can see. I do want to make a video kind of talking about how I used to use it back when I used it every day for crypto. So I do want to eventually make that video. But right now, I'm not using it actively. If you guys were watching the stream back in like 2019, 2021, around that area, kind of like at the end of our crypto era, I was using it on, I forget what the website was called. I think it was called like Trading Light or something like that. But we were using the heat map for quite a bit. I used Bookmap for a little bit as well. Didn't really like Bookmap too much. I think Trading Light was way better. If that's what it was called. I might be making that name up. Whatever the program was called that I used. I have not tried the ones on Addis, Scott, because I don't like using add-ons. And I think those are add-on indicators. But I heard from the stream that people liked them. I don't like using a lot of add-on indicators on platforms like Addis or NinjaTrader and stuff like that. Because it's just like an additional fee and an additional fee and an additional fee, you know what I mean? It just keeps adding up. Okay, micro pullback being respected on the downside. Is it going to be respected on the upside here? They're trying to stay above that 30 area. They have failed to stay up here pretty much every single time. Yeah, free until November, exactly, yeah. Yeah, so I don't want to keep like using things on stream where it's like, oh, you got to pay for that. Oh, sorry, you got to pay for this now. Then you got to pay for this. Then you got to pay for this one. It's just a lot of stuff. You're trying to break balance right now. We had a couple of bounces off VWAP, which should not be happening. You put in a double bottom above VWAP on NASDAQ, breaking into a new high now. You have a slight bullish bias. It's that P-shaped profile that we talked about. The P-shaped profile typically does this, where it tries to fail to rotate, and then it tries to extend the upper tail. And the upper tail in this case would be about 30 points, 30 to 40 points. So it would be around in this kind of like general area right here. Around 60. Go to ES order flow. Pretty much every single chart on my screen is ES, except for the bottom left one. Not a very exciting day for our first day back, but pretty standard D shape for most of the day. Now we have that kind of standard failure to rotate. Let's see if they can stay above this 37 here. You're doing that pattern that we've been seeing for a while now, where the bottom half of the candle's getting a lot of bearish delta, but it's getting exhausted. And then you start slowly pushing higher. Okay, here's a pretty big spike in delta pushing out of this 30 area. This is kind of what I was talking about earlier, where if they're going to truly break this 30 area, it should be very obvious. Still need more than that, though. That's just looking like an exhaustion. They do need more above 37 here. Pretty weak upper tail on both of these days. If you do actually find value up here, it could push pretty easily. This is that tail extension towards that 60 level we talked about. Ticks per level on NASDAQ. I forgot what I do here. I think it's like 10. Yeah, I do 10. So per TPO, I do 10. Which makes it about the same size as ES. I'm not sure what you mean, Joseph, because how could you target the breakout node if that's what's happening currently? Hey, I'll have a good day, man. We'll see you tomorrow. How does the TPO profile help you? There's too much to go over. I can't really answer that in like one question. You'd have to watch my like how to trade market profile video. But you're basically reading it the same exact way you read the volume profile next to it. It's just combining two things. It's combining the 30-minute candles and the volume profile into one profile. Because every bar here that's like a different color, like the A, B, C, D, different letter, I guess you would say. Those are 30-minute candles. So you're just seeing how the 30-minute candles are overlapping each other. And then you're comparing that to like how the volume profile looks. And you can get a good idea of like where the value's trading and how long they were trading there. And was it just like a quick move or were they hanging out there for a long time? That sort of thing. And then you have like special patterns like the single prints and the poor highs and all that stuff. Like I said, you have to watch the video for the entire explanation. There's a lot of stuff that goes into it. But it's really just a combination of 30-minute candles and volume profile. It's pretty much just another version of this, because this is what this is doing as well. 30-minute candles, volume profile. That's why it looks like I'm looking at like a million things on my screen. But they're all just kind of like different versions of looking at the same information. It's not like I have to do a ton of analysis on every single screen. They're all telling the same thing. They're just different versions, like different lens of it, looking at the same thing over and over. Possible single prints going down to 39 in a couple of minutes. We'll see. One Linus. There are some single prints going down to 39 there. Pretty strong break of that micro pullback there above that 37. Just keep an eye on these EMAs. Obviously, a break of balance is a trending move. They need to keep trending. The bubbles are block trades, so they're the same as the diamonds. The diamonds are block trades on this chart, and the bubbles are block trades on these charts. Just big orders. No, I have not, Linus. I know a lot of you guys are asking me about that. But yeah, like I said earlier, you weren't here earlier, but I was talking about it earlier. I was saying I don't normally use the add-ons. I never really use the add-ons for NinjaTrader. I don't really plan on using the add-ons for Addis either. Maybe if you guys like keep asking and you want me to make a video on it or something, I'll take a look at them. But not normally. Normally I don't use add-ons. Even though obviously I would just get them for free, they would just give me access as an affiliate. Yeah, I don't need a whole lot more. I'm trying to take things away from my screens, not add on more. One more single print coming down here. Yeah, I heard they're good, Linus. It's definitely not. I'm not using them because I heard they're bad. You guys have said nothing but good things about them on the stream. I just get to a point where I'm like, I don't need to add anything else, and more is not better. Single prints filled in. Keep it on 37. See if we can stay above that. You do have a bear div here on the 1 minute. Yeah, exactly, Wild. It's the flavor of the week, exactly. Yeah, the iceberg stuff, the gamma stuff, the like heat map stuff, that's all kind of the flavor of the week right now. That's what the algos are pushing. Why do I use NinjaTrader? I don't use NinjaTrader anymore. I just use Addis. I used NinjaTrader for almost 10 years. I had the lifetime. I still have the lifetime plan. So I could go back whenever. Yeah, a lot of you guys, when Addis was getting popular, you guys were talking about using them, and you told me to try them out. And I tried them out, and pretty much immediately I was like, yeah, this is pretty sick. This is a lot better. And I don't think it's like that different from NT. They just have like little bonuses here and there. Like they're just a little bit better here, a little bit better here, a little bit better here. So it like all adds up. Yeah, I think Addis is just a superior platform. It's like more modern. The UI is better. It's faster, cleaner. It's just better. So yeah, after I liked them, after I started using them every day, I asked them if I could get like promo codes for you guys, like do giveaways and stuff like that. And that's when they gave me the student trial, and they gave me promo codes and all that stuff. So I've been working with them for I think like 3 years now, 3 or 4 years. Which is insane because it feels like I just started using them. But I think it was around like 2022-ish, somewhere around there. It's a beautiful pullback so far, back into that micro pullback. So keep an eye on that. If they stay above that candle high, you are still breaking balance. But if they stay below 37, then this is a trap, and they are going back into rotation. A lot of bearish block trades coming in, trying to push you back down here. The delta's really bad on NASDAQ today. You're going up off VWAP. Beautiful VWAP bounce, by the way. Since like 10 o'clock. You're going up from VWAP, but delta is coming down the entire time. But all right, guys, we are going to call it there. I appreciate you guys coming back. I know I've been away for like 4 days now. Or how many trading days? Like 3 trading days? Thursday, Friday, Monday? Yeah, 3 days. So I appreciate you guys coming back on the first day. I will be back to our standard schedule for the foreseeable future. I do have some stuff planned like the later quarter of the year, but for the foreseeable future, I don't have any days off. So I will be here tomorrow, same time as always. If you guys do like these streams, hit that like button. Be sure to subscribe. Appreciate you guys hanging out. Be sure to check out all the shorts that we put out. We put out like 4 shorts a week. So if you have not seen those, be sure to check them out. Speaking of Apex, today is their last day for that flash sale. It's the cheapest their 50K accounts have ever been. The 50K accounts are on a massive sale with no activation fee. So you can use code BREW on those. It's only on the intraday drawdown ones, not the end of day drawdown ones. So check that out. Code BREW. If you guys do buy any accounts, just hold on to those receipts. I'll start getting those from you on Monday. And as long as you send them by the end of the month, starting on Monday, I'll get you added to that raffle. We'll do our monthly raffle for Discord and for tutoring access as well. But all right, guys, I will be streaming in Discord the rest of the day. If you guys are in Discord, I'll see you there. If you guys are not in Discord, I'll be back same time as always tomorrow morning. You guys enjoy the rest of your day. I'll see you guys tomorrow. Peace, everybody.